Good afternoon, everybody, or rather good evening. It's 5:30 on a Friday evening, and we're so happy you could join us on the Sheila Exchange. Today, we've got two lovely sisters who started a new business. They decided to start a new business involving plants during the pandemic. We have with us this evening Charlene Marie Samuel. She's the elder one, dressed in black, and Beth Diana Samuel. She's the younger one, besides Charlene, obviously. All right. And so these two, Beth they have started a business known as the Travelling Sisterhood. It's the sisterhood of the traveling plants, not the traveling pants, by the way. And so Beth is the creative force in the group, in the duo. She's called the Plant Whisperer, right? And Charlene is the practical brains. She calls herself the plant killer. I don't know whether Beth calls her the plant killer, but Beth calls you the plant killer, and she's the plant whisperer. Well, that's a perfect combination, actually. Don't pay me the money, I kill your plants, right, Charlene? No, just kidding, just kidding. Now, both of them have got their own individual careers, very successful at what they do, and we'll be talking a little bit about that shortly. Both of them have a passion for interior decor and plants. And so they merge the two. What better thing to do than to merge the two passions that you have and turn it into a business, a surefire formula for success. Welcome, Charlene and Beth. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. Okay, so let me just find out from the both of you, or maybe our listeners would like to know, aside from whispering and killing plants and selling plants and whatever it is that you're doing with plants, which you'll tell us about later, what do you do? What's your day job? Maybe we'll start with you, Charlene.
Okay. So I primarily work at ABC. That's my day job. ABC stands for Autism Behavioral Center. So it's very different to the Travelling Sisterhood. It's a welcome change, actually. So primarily we provide intensive intervention for young learners, children with autism, speech delays, behavior challenges, and social challenges. We're currently the largest intervention center actually in Malaysia. So that's what keeps me busy during the day.
Yep, and I might also want to add, currently the largest intervention center headed by one of the youngest intervention specialists. And Charlene started this primarily out of a passion and a calling to make education affordable to young children suffering from autism. Kudos to you, Charlene. Beth, what about you?
Okay, I'm in HR. I was leading a HR team in a e-commerce startup here in KL. So I've primarily been doing that HR. It's kind of similar, I guess. People and plants, they have some similarities. So yeah.
Tell me about the similarities, Beth.
Well, I think plants and people both need attention. They both do well if under the right kind of care. So we need kind of light and water and attention and similar things to plants.
And I might like to add, having known Beth for a long time, she's an excellent HR specialist, very caring, the same nurturing spirit that she gives to her plants, she gives to the people under her care. And I think many an employee has gone crying into her room and come out consoled and smiling. So well done, Beth. I think it's really natural that both of you are nurturing people out there one way or other, especially children with people with special needs. And everybody is a person with a special need, I think, right? Okay, so how did the idea for this business sparkle? Tell us that story about the Travelling Sisterhood of the Plants.
Okay, so it actually came about, I think, during the whole lockdown. It was really, I think, more harder on Charlene than it was on me. Well, for me, it was just kind of, I think, overall in the tech industry, we took pay cuts. And that was throughout. So for us, we had a pay cut for our leadership team, so that we didn't really, it didn't affect our staff too much. But for Charlene, being kind of in a special needs school education, I think basically services were to a screeching halt, right? So they didn't have a salary for
Yeah, for about 3
3
months.
months.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I think halfway through, I think 2 months into it, Charlene was at my house and we were talking, and she was really down. Um, and and I think naturally, as I would do for my staff, for my colleagues, I told Charlene, like, you need to get out of this. We can't be at effect of the things that are happening. Yeah, it's a shitty situation, but what can we do about it? Um, and and I started throwing all these ideas at her, and so I've always loved doing little small businesses. I've had a little jewelry business, just different things here and there, and I really enjoyed it. So naturally, I gravitated toward wanting to problem solve. So I told her, let's do something together. We've never actually done something together, and we're quite very
Except get up to mischief as sisters, perhaps.
yeah.
Remember this?
That's more than I did, actually. I was really good.
So yeah, I think Charlene's a bit more risk adverse than I was. So I told her, let's just do this. And naturally she was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. We're in the middle of pandemic. I'm telling you, I'm, in this terrible situation and you want me to start a business. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And I think she wasn't convinced initially. So I actually sat down and I said, let's come up with a cool name. We can do this. It's an easy thing to do. And I think having done it before, I naturally felt like, yeah, it's not a big deal. So I sat down there, I sat with her and I started throwing names, and she was getting a bit excited. I said, let's do, we can do plants, and everybody's stuck at home. So, every time one of us turns on our camera, people always kind of compliment our homes and the plants in there. So I told her, like, maybe more people would be happier if they had plants and greenery.
Plants at home.
Yeah, like just like your background, just looking at it is so nice. Just looking at all these plants. So I think it was a kind of a very natural idea that came to mind. The Travelling Sisterhood, I mean, we wanted something that reflected, I guess, the fact that she's my sister, that we're both sisters, but also that we both love traveling, and with the lockdown you can only wish that you were traveling and reminisce back on your travels.
So it was an aspirational name.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to say that when we're out of this, when we start traveling again, maybe the Traveling Sisterhood could be a collection of things from all over the world, and we could read them, we could share them with our fellow Malaysians and bring them to Malaysia. So that's kind of how the name came about. And then we sat down, we created the logo together, just by ourselves. We started the Instagram page and we just launched.
How did she convince you, Charlene? You're the practical one.
It's true. I mean, I think she started off with the logo. The kind of logo got me excited because then things are a little bit more real. And in all fairness, every single suggestion I gave with the logo, she declined it. So I'm not the creative one. But I think when we started off with a logo and we figured out what we wanted to call ourselves, I think that made things a little bit real and possible. Otherwise, it was all just kind of an idea. And additionally, I mean, like I said, we were affected quite badly, and there was at that point nothing else to lose. Honestly, it's either you do something and move forward, or you don't do anything and conditions don't change. Because at that point of time, things were not the way it is right now. I had no idea when we could reopen. We were talking to so many agents in the government, and everybody would give a different answer. So it was just so up in the air. So I would say the uncertainty kind of reinforced me to just take on this idea, because I really had no idea how long of a rut I have to be stuck in. But in all honesty, Beth is pretty positive and enthusiastic in general. So I think I would say that would be a plus point on getting me on board as well.
I like that. I mean, and the lesson I'm getting from this is that, Beth, she came to you, she was feeling down, things were not working out in the business. And out of her despondency, a business was born.
Yeah.
So it kind of just tells you, right, when times are tough, it doesn't mean that nothing can be going, nothing can start, nothing can succeed, And I sometimes think that we're allowed to get to this point where nothing is really happening, so that you have no choice. You have to step out of your comfort zone, and you have to look at an opportunity and say, I got nothing to lose. Why not?
Yeah.
And that pretty much is kind of what happened, right? So tell us a little bit more about the business. What is the Travelling Sisterhood really doing with this business? I think, listeners are very intrigued by what you actually do.
Okay, so I think it started off as just a plants thing,
Mm.
where I was just curating a bunch of plants, and I naturally get a lot of these questions. Both of us actually,
Mm.
hey, your house has plants. How do you keep them alive? So we started bringing in plants that were very hard for people to kill, and then realizing even those they would somehow find a way to kill. So then it turned into more of like trying to help them care for their plants and building their confidence with the plants. So I think that natural kind of tendency we have to nurture people really translated to our customers as well.
Mm.
So we spend a lot of time actually counseling them on like, okay, this kind of plants, these are the kind of light conditions that you have. Maybe try this, maybe move it, and then they would just send us photos of the kind of plants they had. And so I think it was a very different relationship we had with the customers, and that slowly kind of moved into more other things as well. Like we started doing like pillowcases, which sold out in a couple of days, and now we have to restock them. And now we've got art prints. But basically, it's little things that make people look forward to going home, make their houses look more beautiful. And since we're spending all this time at home, I guess that makes sense. So the whole theme we're going for is a whole kind of jungle theme. And yeah, it's just bringing greenery into our concrete homes in
Mm.
the concrete jungle. So yeah, that's kind of the kind of theme we're going for, I guess.
So what you do is you curate plants for people's homes that are suitable for the home environment and the decor.
Right.
And then you teach people how to nurture and care for those plants
Yeah.
so that they don't kill that. I'm assuming plant whisperer Beth, you're the one that does that part of
Definitely,
it.
it's not me. Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny because I got a lot of practice with Charlene. We both live in the same building complex, but she's on the other side, and so she has it's a very different kind of light condition from my place. So we've experimented with a lot of plants here, and I constantly have her, coming to me saying, "I love this plant, let's buy it." And I'm like, "It's not going to live in your place." She's like, "Let's buy it," and then we'll buy it, and I have to end up adopting it and kind of reviving it, and it's like a whole it's a
Yeah.
whole journey with this whole plant thing with us. So we've been doing that for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So when we started the business, the same thing is happening with our customers, because I think a lot of them end up with plants from, they just buy them, I guess, from other sellers, and they never really ask, or they get advice on the kind of light
Mm.
that they have at home, or how to care for these things. So I guess they would buy something from us. And we even had customers who didn't buy anything, and when we're asking us these questions, and they were so taken by the fact that I was actually helping them out, that they ended up supporting the
Ah.
business and buying. So
Yeah, that's actually what customer service is all about. You don't have to really be pushing your products onto people, but there's a willingness to just share knowledge and information. And then people are so moved by that relationship and rapport that they begin to start buying from you. I
yeah,
think that's excellent. If there's a lot of people when they're selling products and services, they're like, oh, if you're not buying from me, then I don't want to give you any free advice. But then again, advice is free, in this instance. The people are just asking. I think that's a great attitude, Beth. So how did you learn about plants? I mean, how did she not learn about plants? And how did you learn about plants?
yeah, I think I just we never really thought about this, but I think I've
Yeah.
always kind of been sort of, I guess you could say, you have a green thumb.
Ah,
But I've also, I mean, over the years, I've also got really interested in it. Like I tend to buy a lot of books on plants. I read a lot about kind of environments that allow the plant to be self-sustaining and all these sort of things. So I get a bit nerdy about it. But also recently, before we started the business, I happened to watch one of those master classes on gardening, and it gives me life. Like I truly love like having plants and helping them and watching them grow. And then, if especially it almost gives me a kick when Charlene brings me all these really sick plants that she almost killed, and I get to revive them. So I think naturally it just was something that I really love doing. I mean, and plants are much easier than people, I think. So in some ways I was like, oh, I love seeing that I can help it. And it helps that my sister helps me exercise that a lot.
Your sister gives you the opportunity to experiment with her
I've gotten much better.
non-successes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I have gotten better. I
Definitely.
don't kill plants as much. Actually, I've kept them
Anymore.
for a while.
yeah.
You're keeping them alive now. That's great, Charlene. So Charlene, what's kind of like your role in this whole enterprise? And clearly Beth is the one giving all the advice and nurturing the plants and loving them and all that. What's your role in it?
Okay, so basically our process is, we go out looking for great things to bring into the business. And if it's anything to do with plants, Beth would basically, take care of them, keep them alive till we can sell them, repot them, propagate them. Everything to do with plants is her. For me, I'm more of the person who takes the pictures, posts them up. If there's any inquiries about our plants or our interiors, I would answer. However, if it's plant care, I would pass it on to Beth.
Mm.
And if we were talking to customers, I would actually say, hey, this is Charlene here. Okay, let me check with my sister Beth. So I would manage more social media, selling the items, organizing, when we deliver what. So more of the, I would say, organizational part of it is me. I would say more of the service in terms of advising customers on care of the plants. That's 100% Beth. Yeah,
Beth.
I don't really meddle in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's good synergy that you have, and the roles seem to be quite clearly delineated. So what's in the response? Do you have a regular return clients, a database of clients? What's the rate of new clients coming on board every month and so on? Maybe some data on that?
So we do have more new clients, new customers most of the time, but there are a couple of return ones, especially because we are moving towards plants that are kind of hard to get. They're collector's items. So we're getting some customers that really into plants and they know exactly what they're doing and they know these kind of plants are not easy to come by. But I would say we have a very healthy, steady, amount of customers coming in that are completely new to us. Of course, it first started off with friends and family, which was amazing because everybody came together and they were supporting us, and, instead of buying like, I don't know, manicure and pedicure vouchers, people started buying plants for their friends, which was so sweet because everyone was supporting us. But I think very quickly, because we had a social media following already that started off with our friends and family, we actually very quickly reached out to, new people. We do have a couple of returning customers, and usually how it works is they would buy 1 or 2 plants and Beth helps them keep them alive because we have a lot of people coming in with questions. And when they realize that, okay, I didn't kill this plant, okay, let me buy another one, So that's usually how it works. But I would say, we do have a couple of returning customers, but I would say probably more new customers. Like every time we're creating, we're kind of putting together all of the deliveries and locations and people. These are people that I've never met or personally, and they're new. They're so just a small handful, but mostly new.
And how do you get these clients? Is it totally through social media marketing, and how else?
Mostly, and then I think word of mouth. I think, like
Word of mouth.
our friends and family have been so supportive. Like anytime they could think of an opportunity to include us, they would.
Yeah. And even like our friends who are journalists and all, really, I think it was very helpful that they shared with their other writer friends and we got featured on Says. That was amazing because then SEO wise, when people search for plant deliveries in Kuala Lumpur, we pop out. So and this is all thanks to this kind of articles, this publicity, this kind of interviews that we do. So it's actually very helpful for the business. So yeah, I think we've been very blessed in that sense that we do have people who want to hear our story.
So what's the main profile of your clients? Is it sort of across the board, eclectic, or do you have like a particular age group or socio-economic group that makes up the main body of clients?
I think a mixture, but I think in terms of their needs, we have we have the kind of the new plant parents, the ones that want to get into it. A lot of them are quite
plant parents. I like that. So cute.
Yeah, girls.
Plant parents.
So the kind
Yeah.
of plants that will attract them are the ones that they can kind of also bring to the office, keep alive on their table, like saying greenery, get smaller items. We do have quite a group of people who go for the bigger plants in their house. So they also kind of like send us photos of their house and want to do massive plant styling. So these are big orders, and I think these are the guys who also tell their friends then who say, hey, you need some plants in your house, and we're talking like really really big ones, right? So they order with their friends and that sort of thing. And then we also have a select group of people who like to give gifts,
Mm.
and they have gravitated towards giving plants as gifts. And I think when they realize how much it makes people happy instead of flowers that eventually die and that sort of thing. So we also have people who just love gifting. So there's that group of new plant parents, the ones that want to give gifts, and also the ones who want to just kind of make their house look more
Mm.
yeah.
And so where's like the repository, the depository of your plants? Where do you operate from? I imagine that if you've got lots of people wanting the plants, and you would be maybe repotting them into nice, attractive pots as gifts and so on. But where do you do this from? Because both of you live in stratified properties, yeah? So how does that work?
It's Beth's place actually. She's got the bigger house. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
she's got a downstairs that
A
that
little garden space there, yeah.
and a
Hmm.
lot of space for us to do reporting and stretch our legs and work it out. We try to do, I mean, I try to do minimal work in her home because we messed it up. But at one point, honestly, her home was really looking like a
Garden.
showroom, like a garden, yeah. And I think they got bugs started coming in. So we really had to, because these were things that we were bringing from wherever.
Yeah.
But we've gotten better, and we're moving the stock pretty quickly, so we're not having as much issues anymore. But it's
Yeah.
mostly Beth's place.
Hmm.
Honestly, my place is too small. Firstly, secondly, I don't have much sunlight actually. So there's actually a very few select plants that would actually survive in my home. Like anything you see here are pretty hardcore plants. Yeah, if you don't see them in my house, they're probably not going to survive low light conditions.
Ah, okay. And Beth and Charlene, do y'all do like plant care workshops, for example? Like, how to repot a plant and how do you care for it?
Yeah, so
Because I think working with plants is very therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah.
yes, it is. It really is, and I think now that I have a little bit more time on my hands, I will be kind of venturing to doing like small kind of tutorial videos and that sort of thing. I think of simple things like how a lot of people tend to kill their plants in the process of getting it a nicer pot, for example. Something so simple like that could turn so disastrous. So I try to help them, I guess, with this, just simple things like what kind of soil composition you need for certain plants and that sort of thing. So definitely we're looking into doing more content after this. We've done a couple just very simple kind of photos and stuff of like, if your plant is looking like this, that probably means it needs some water and that sort of thing. But definitely want to do more of that. I think it'll be useful
Hmm.
for customers.
I'm seeing the opportunity for some educational videos going on over here. Your own YouTube channel, the Traveling Sisterhood of the Plants. So what other opportunities? So you've talked about in plants as being like a mainstay of the business, and then other interior items that you pick up as you go along and see that, if you, I assume that you only sell what you like, lah.
Yeah.
Right? I kind of figure that out. So if you like it, then other people will like it and you sell it. So where do you see the future of this business going?
Okay, so we have thought about it, and that's one of the reasons why we named ourselves, and we Beth named us the Traveling Sisterhood. I mean, hopefully, when borders reopen and we get to travel again, because we really do, hopefully, we can start, going back to places that we love, and like I said, curating like a certain feel or certain look for your home. Um, like one of the best places I visited is actually Morocco, and I really wish I had more space in my luggage to bring lots of stuff home. And you can't find these things here. And I would imagine the kind of beautiful interiors that we would love to bring in for the Traveling Sisterhood in the future. But for now, I mean, we're keeping it local, support local businesses, even with the plant business, we're going, it's either she's propagating or supporting local nurseries. What we do is we pick out the most beautiful, good quality plants, report them into, great pots. But yeah, I mean, we hopefully foresee ourselves, venturing around the globe, bringing in select pieces to give like a different feel to your home. Because right now we are mostly centered around like a jungle theme. But probably jungle theme is not for everyone. It could you could look at so many things to do with this. So because it's interiors, I mean the possibilities are pretty endless.
True.
And there's so many people with different kind of tastes and how they want their house to feel and look like. So hopefully, with more opportunity to travel in future, whenever that may be, we can curate to different kinds of looks and feels as well.
Now we can do Chuti Malaysia lah, like our states like Kelantan and Terengganu and all that. They've got so much beautiful artifacts, wooden things, silks and all that, which you can actually bring back and transform into bed covers and cushions and all that.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean it's great what you're doing, the ideas, the possibilities are endless. Hey, I wanted to ask you a question, Beth. Can I come over and play with soil and plants in your house and help you out, be your slave for a day or something? Because I remember a time when I was a lot younger and had less money, and I was working as a journalist, and my boss said, "Hey, you haven't taken your leave. You have to take your leave." I said, "Yeah, but I got nowhere to go. I got no money to go on a holiday anywhere. And take leave for what?" He said, "I don't care. You have to take leave because you have to finish your leave." So I took leave, and then I was living with my mom then, and she had a big garden. So I took leave, and I said, "What do I do?" And I said, "Mom, your garden is quite bare. Let's plant stuff." So I went to Sungai Buloh, and I put all these plants in my car, and I went to Sungai Buloh, and I came back. And I just dug up the garden and planted heliconias and planted, and I was just literally digging my hands into the soil and playing with it and planting with it. And it was just so therapeutic. There's something to be said for those tree huggers. People tell you when you're feeling down and depressed, go and hug a tree, and everyone looks and thinks like, are you crazy or what? But there's something to be said about nature and its healing effects. And I think so many of us live urban lifestyles. We don't have the luxury of a garden. We live in condominiums, we live in small houses, so you can't really plant things in the ground, no big trees and so on. So I think it really makes a difference having plants, and you're so right, Beth. During MCO, stuck in a house with people, sometimes I thought I'd rather have the plants there. At least they don't answer back.
Yeah. But I mean you're absolutely right, because like most of us are living in smaller homes, apartments. I don't have a garden here, but it doesn't mean you can't beautify your home with the right plants.
Yeah.
And I think I mean interiors as well, but right now we're focusing more on plants, and they're living things. And truly, I mean, both Beth and my homes, Beth more than mine has more plants, but it really does give a very different feel. Like you want to come home and relax. It does feel like a very relaxing, serene space. And even more now that most of us are still working from home.
Yeah.
I mean, I do too. Some days I don't have to go into the office. I'm happy to work at home because my home is pretty green. So I would say we hope to kind of share this joy that we have with other people as well. Yeah.
I see the point that if you don't have a garden to step out into, bring the garden inside,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and there's so many ways to handle that. Having now that you are there, people have recourse to your social media pages, or to reach out to you, Beth, the plant nurse, the plant whisperer, the plant rejuvenator, the plant rescuer. And there you are, Charlene, with the ideas and plans for the future. Now, any plans when the RMCO it's eased up, is lifted, and things go back to normal? Are you planning to expand in a bigger way? Right now, you're operating from home, and I do imagine you source your plants from certain suppliers and all that. Any plans to be, see the plants on the head? Any plans to expand and become the supplier, become the purveyor, and
Yeah.
everything from an end-to-end business model?
I think in the short term, I maybe not so much end to end, but I think we're both in talks with a couple of people to see whether we can expand this. I think the key would be to scale it. It's a little bit hard to do that from home, but I
Mm.
think the learning we have as well with the pandemic is whatever business we want to start, it needs to be able to survive another lockdown should that happen again. So we want to make sure that we have this good customer base and we are leveraging on that, and I guess just giving really good service so that that people just naturally organically come to us for their needs. So definitely looking to scale it more, because as you said, rightfully said, it is quite limiting to do it from home.
Mm.
And it's kind of like work from home. There's only so much that you want to be
Yeah.
doing as well. So kind of just having a space, a controlled space as well for the plants to thrive would be quite good. So yes, we are in talks to see where that brings us to. But yeah, I think the key here is making sure that is sustainable, even if we do have another lockdown, or in any
Mm.
condition. So that will mainly be something that survives online.
Mm. So, are you all seeing this as possibly being, because right now you've got your careers and you're doing this as a business, and that's really very admirable. Are you seeing that at some point this might actually take up most of your time and energy and become the more lucrative income earner for both of you?
I mean, that's the dream, I guess. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe more for Beth. For me, like my work actually requires a lot of me being there.
Yeah, I understand. And
Yeah.
perhaps maybe, Charlene, you could integrate what you're doing with plants and what you're doing with children with autism, and that one day you might even have a space, a big nursery, a space, a garden, a workshop where you can bring these children there and train them to work with plants so that they are also becoming, they're also able to earn an income. I mean, I think the world has endless possibilities. And sometimes we don't see patterns of how certain possibilities can merge. But what you both have done is you have taken an interest, you've taken a passion for interiors, for plants, for enterprise, merged it together and done something that's really not just something that brings money, but it's not just pleasing to you, but it's also pleasing to people, because we are always told that surrounding ourselves with nature is just so therapeutic. Being involved in nurturing and cultivating nature is even more therapeutic. And you've done that. You're giving people the opportunities to do that. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, you've got a good thing going, ladies, with the Traveling Sisterhood.
Okay.
So let's make an appointment for me to come one day and get my hands dirty with the plants.
Yeah.
I would love to play with some plants and learn from you, Beth and Charlene. Thank you so much. Any final words? So you're doing this as selling plants, helping to curate plants. You're also selling the plants as gifts to people, and I think that's a great idea. I didn't think of that. Every time I think of getting someone a gift, it's like, oh, go out to the shop and buy a present, but why not a plant? And then tell them, for as long as this plant remains alive, our friendship will remain alive. That would give. I did that with my late husband.
Mm.
I plucked something and I put it into a jar of water and I said to him, you look after that plant. How you look after that plant is going to reflect how you're going to be looking after our relationship. That plant dies. And he kept it alive until, we moved house, we moved house. So people can do things like that with plants. It's a great business you're in. Thank you very much. Any last words that you would like to share with our audience?
I think
Words of wisdom. Charlene, are you feeling better now that when you went to her and she helped you start this business because you were like in a down phase, and so any
Absolutely.
last.
Now I think we have a different problem, how I'm too busy to kind of manage two things. So it's quite the opposite of the initial problem I had. But I think, I mean, my advice would be, even the toughest times, as you mentioned, there are opportunities. You just have to be able to see it and seize it and do something. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people have ideas, but to actually act on it, I was really lucky to have somebody next to me to push me ahead. Um, yeah, so I really think the lockdown actually brought so much of positive out of it. It made so many of us new entrepreneurs, so many of my friends, including Beth's friends as well, are now somewhat selling some sort of service or item. So it's amazing to see how people have the ability to adapt, even in the most,
Thrive.
and thrive in the most challenging times, and I think one thing I've learned, I'm glad, I mean, I had this to occupy me, but the most difficult times are only temporary. But additionally, for me personally, I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I learned that very quickly, because my heart and soul is in ABC, but when that is taken away from you, I kind of felt like I lost my identity because I could not do, or, what I was trained to do, or, so, I mean, this kind of allows me to refocus and to diversify. And I would say, if there's any entrepreneurs out there, I think diversification is so important. I unfortunately I felt I learned it pretty late, but better late than never. But yeah, that's what I would say. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've said it very well. I think the biggest thing I got out of this is that, we all have these great ideas and they only remain ideas if you don't do something about them, right? And, you always, I don't know about you, but I've always sometimes, seen someone start a new business and thought, man, I thought about that, before. I wish I could have done that.
Mm.
And that's so many of us listening in, so literally, like, we shared our story, and it was a very simple thing of coming together and making a commitment to just do it.
Mm.
Like, we just started it, and we just told our friends and family, and it just took off. So imagine if we just didn't commit to it, and we wouldn't be here today. So yeah, I would just say, if you don't be scared, like, the whole situation, I think, what was our worst fears come true. I think for some of us, we couldn't even imagine it being this bad, but um to take that opportunity and seize it, and just to leverage off the situation already. It couldn't get any worse. So yeah.
Yeah, I was reading once about this person who said that dreams are just like clouds that float in the sky until you give them legs, and then they turn into reality and they turn into ideas. And then for those ideas, you need to set goals, what we call in neuro-linguistic programming, well-formed outcomes,
Mhm.
so that you know where you have the end in mind and you work towards that end.
Yeah.
Seriously, what you did was, Beth, translate a dream into reality for both yourself and for Charlene, and it's worked very well for you. Yep, call you later to plan that date to come. Oh, here's another idea, right? For people who, because you were saying that Charlene's very busy, right? And she's got no time to come and report all the plants. How about if you open up a plant workshop and tell everyone, come and report my plants. I'll teach you how. You take away one small plant, free labor. I'll come. I'll come and be your plant slave and help you with that. Nothing like messing with some greens and some earth to really
That's really
lift the spirit and rejuvenate you, and then watch it grow and thrive. Yeah. As
that's
you said in the beginning, Beth, people are very much like plants. You both are in the people business in different ways. So am I. And nurture people, nurture plants. There's so much of fulfillment to be had from that.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Charlene and Beth, for being with me today. You've been listening to the Traveling Sisterhood. Charlene Samuel, Beth Samuel speaking to me, Sheila Singham, on the Sheila Exchange. And we're signing off this Friday.